Before we get started, if you haven't heard about Anchor by Spotify, it's the easiest way to make a podcast with everything you need all in one place. Let us explain.
Anchor has the tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast straight from your phone or computer.
When hosting on Anchor, you can distribute your podcast on listening platforms like Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and more.
It is everything you need to make a podcast in one place.
And best of all, Anchor is totally free.
Download the Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started.
Hey, how's it going? It's Link here. And I am once again asking for your financial support. Now you might be asking, when was the first time that he asked for my financial support? Well, before we had a podcast, I was asking people for financial support on the street. So this is my second time asking for financial support. So if you want to support us in the podcast, Searching for MacGuffin, you can always follow us on whatever streaming services or podcast services you listen to us. And then you can also click and donate in the descriptions. Love you.
Welcome back to Searching for MacGuffin with your host, George.
Gabe?
And Link.
And before we move on to today's topic, I guess we have a bit of warning here. We're not all in the room for reasons that I guess our host Gabe can go into. So,
Yeah, that's correct. I have basically I have COVID, and so it's been rough over these holidays, but the shows must go on, as we will soon, in fact, find out. And so, yeah, I'm at home quarantining, trying to stay safe. Just a friendly reminder: wear your masks and be mindful of where you're headed.
yeah, so I think every show at this point ends up having their COVID episode or episodes. So I guess this is ours. Yeah, it's funny you mentioned the shows must go on, and that's today's topic. Today's episode 13. The shows must go on, and it's ending our merry month of Marvel.
The one where Gabriel gets COVID. That could be the name of our episode.
Okay. Oh man, that's
a good one.
That's actually a better title. Can we change it now? But we're gonna talk about the MCU shows. So we've been talking about the films for the past several weeks. We went through the entire history. We got great feedback from a lot of our listeners.
Our viewers?
No, they're listeners. Again, we are not a video podcast.
I think just us, we're the viewers, right?
Yeah. Oh, that's true. Yeah.
We're viewing you.
Yeah, we're actually viewing you right now.
This is a very interesting experience because it's like I'm sitting, like the computer's positioned in my normal spot. So this is where I normally sit. So seeing you just through my screen is actually pretty funny.
Yeah, it's the same thing for us because we place the computer where you usually sit. So we're staring right at you, staring right back at us.
I'm petting you.
That's not what's going on. Also, again, our listeners can't see anything that you're doing. So
viewers, I am petting Gabriel.
Okay. So
tussling up his hair.
Tussling? Oh. So we have a long and arduous journey that goes back just a couple of years. So I guess when we talk about MCU TV, where did this all start? Where does MCU TV start for you guys?
I think for me it would be Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., if I'm correct. I wasn't on board as it was airing on TV, like when it first came out.
Yeah.
I think that I caught on once. It was on Netflix, and I think you had recommended the show to me.
Mm-hmm.
And then once I started, I think it was about season 3 was out on Netflix, and you told me like it's kind of like a little bit rough to get into it, but once you're into it, once it takes off, it soars. And so I started and I binged it, and then since then I just kept up with it like week to week on TV.
Yeah. Link, you didn't watch the show, right?
Nah.
So you're still not watching anything MCU related on television at this point, right?
No, not at all.
Yeah. So I watched it from the beginning, like you mentioned. I think I've talked about before that, like when we were in the earlier Marvel episodes, how when Winter Soldier happens, it's Winter Soldier, right? Yeah, when Winter Soldier happens, like the events go back and forth between the show and the movie, etc. And like that was a nice ride. it lasted for like a really long time. How many seasons did it go, Gabe?
I believe it was 7.
Yeah, I was thinking 7
7
too.
seasons.
Yeah, I kind of drifted off like around 5, which is longer than I think some people stayed on. But I caught up and like watched the rest of it during the pandemic. I was like, I guess I watched 5 years of this show. Like I should just wrap up 6 and 7 are short. So I saw it. It was good. I mean, I think it kind of outstayed his welcome, especially because it started really connected with the movies. And then as it was that divide that, we discussed in our earlier episode between Marvel Entertainment with Ike Perlmutter and then Kevin Feige and Marvel Films, then it's less and less connected, and we kind of lost that. Along that way, there was that show Agent Carter, which I loved.
Wasn't that in that show?
No, it was actually a spinoff. It was,
okay.
Yeah, it wasn't even really a spinoff, but it did go back and forth between both shows. There's a little bit of crossover, but it really is its own standalone. And that was produced by someone who had to do with the Marvel films, right? Because that's probably like the most authentic piece of MCU TV before this year, because like Jarvis shows up in Endgame, right? And it's a lot more tied to the movies. But that's a really good show. I think it's on Disney Plus. I highly recommend it. Season 1 is really good. I know a lot of people haven't seen it. Season 2 is good too. It ends in kind of a cliffhanger, but
yeah. So I think with Agent Carter, I still haven't seen it, even though it comes highly regarded.
Wow.
And that's definitely something I will check out, because I love Haley Atwell, and it's created by Marcus and McFeely.
Yeah. That's what it was. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
The writers that have done a lot for.
I think it's produced by Feige too, if I'm not mistaken.
Aren't they all produced by Feige?
No, they're not, because like I said, the TV used to be run, and some of it still is, because there's other shows that are not connected, like things like Cloak and Dagger and stuff that's on Freeform and on Hulu. They're not MCU related. They're Marvel properties. They're run by Marvel Entertainment, which Marvel Films used to be under, but there was a big creative difference that we talked about around Phase 2, where then like Disney was like, okay, Marvel Films, you're your own company, and Marvel Entertainment, you're a different company. So instead of being a subsidiary, they got their own autonomy, so they just started going in different directions.
Oh, okay.
So highly recommend Agent Carter if you haven't seen it. You don't need to watch Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. If you, again, Captain Carter, she's great. Peggy Carter's a great character. I know she's my wife's like favorite MCU heroine. She doesn't have any powers, but and we were talking about like First Avenger and how people love that movie, and she was like adding me in personal conversation like, this is why you have to tell them why First Avenger is great, and it's because according to her, and I totally see it, like Peggy Carter is probably one of the strongest female characters in the MCU. So we moved on from Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and Agent Carter to the Netflix series. And I think this is where you jumped aboard, right, Link?
Yeah, this is where I jumped aboard with Daredevil.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember during that time, like, you guys kept on recommending Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. to me and all that stuff. But I was like, I don't care about ABC shows.
Yeah, why did you have that attitude?
I think I have that attitude about many shows. I don't know. If it's produced on ABC, I do not want to watch that. That was my mentality. I'm more of a comedy guy, like I said before, and what ABC's comedies are not good, in my opinion.
Really? You didn't like Modern Family?
Modern Family isn't a good
Modern
comedy?
Family's the exception.
Okay.
But yeah, so I never watched that. I got into Daredevil
Mm-hmm.
with Netflix when that came out. I think what grabbed my attention was that it was produced by Jeff Loeb, and I love Jeff Loeb as a author. So I'm like, oh, you got me there, and it kind of ruined shows for me.
Yeah, this is true.
It ruined shows for me because I remember, and this is what I loved about the Netflix shows, is that they all come out at once.
Oh yeah.
You get me? It's like
'Cause
I don't
you're a
have to
binger.
wait a week, and that's the other thing. I'm a binger.
Yeah.
Netflix had that by that time already had already come, had been out for a while, and I've been binging stuff. Right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to watch weekly stuff.
Yeah, I understand.
This is what I love about Netflix. I can watch it all at once, and I did.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just ruined everything. Like I remember it came out. I was watching The Flash at CW.
Yeah.
And I started liking The Flash. Yeah, it's not that bad. But I was watching it weekly. I had to wait. And then I think on a Friday, Daredevil came out. I binged watched it in one day.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm like, okay, I'm never watching Flash ever again.
Wait, so you actually did get to watch some Flash?
Yeah, like the first half of
Wow.
season 1,
Oh,
and then
wow.
Daredevil. And I'm like, okay,
This is news
We're
to
done.
me because I guess I recommended Flash early on when it was, I think, pretty good. And my only recollection was Link being like, "It's not Daredevil. I'm not watching it."
yeah.
Yeah, so I didn't know you actually had like tasted it.
Yeah, so I personally really enjoyed the Marvel shows, and I think what made them special to me was the fact that I was in college, but I was able to watch most of them with Gabriel,
Yeah.
and that's what we would do when every show would come out. I'd
Mhm.
go to his dorm, his room, and we'd order food and just watch the show, and I just had a great time just watching it with him, and that's why some of those shows are really great. Some
Yeah.
of them are fantastic. Some of them aren't so great, but I really enjoyed that time with Gabriel, just watching it with him.
And that started later, right, Link?
Yeah,
Like the first one that we saw together was Luke Cage or something?
I think it was Luke Cage because we didn't when Daredevil and Jessica Jones came out. We weren't in college at the same time yet,
Mm-hmm.
so I watched those by myself.
Yeah.
But Luke Cage came out and we started watching him, and I really enjoyed watching him with you.
Because I think for Daredevil, I remember
We watched season 2 together.
Yeah, for season 1 when it had come out, I didn't really know anything about it. I didn't really hear much about it. Like this is my first semester in college, and my roommate at the time, who's not really like as much into like Marvel and stuff like that, he was watching it in the room, and I happened like to see him watching it. Like, he was binging it, like Link was saying. He was like the curtains were closed. He was in bed and just watching from the TV screen in his bed, and then I started watching a couple episodes, and I'm like, this is really good. And then I think he was on episode like 3 or 4, and then I ended up rewatching and on my by myself, and that was fantastic. So then once the other shows came out, I started watching them, and I was lucky enough to be able to watch them with Link over some very good Thai food.
Oh yes, Thai food, Thai chili.
Well, I also think that Link is kind of bearing the lead because he gave us like 4 or 5 reasons why he was so excited for Daredevil. None of them were the fact that this is the show about Daredevil, like, which I know is one of your personal favorites.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, like this was a dream come true to me.
yeah.
Yeah, I couldn't believe that we were finally gonna get I mean, we got a Ben Affleck movie in the 90s, early 2000s.
No, early 2000s. Yeah.
Early 2000s.
Yeah, early 2000s. And like I thought, oh, that's it. It's dead in the water. We're never coming back to Daredevil after this movie. So to have this like on this level on Netflix, especially at what I think is the height of Netflix,
Yeah.
I think that was a really big coup for Marvel. One question that I have for you that's kind of a side conversation, but it really has to do with the shows at this point versus the shows now. What do you prefer? Link says he prefers binging them. Do you prefer the week-to-week model, Gabe, or?
I think it just has to do with, I think, points in my life.
Yeah.
I think if I have the opportunity, if I have the time, where like I was in college, so I could have weekends and things that happen that I just like, I could just stay in my room and just binge the whole thing. There may be other points where I am pretty busy consistently, and so fitting it into a weekly schedule is more feasible.
Yeah.
I don't know. I would like to give you a straight answer, but it's very tough because as much as I enjoy getting through something and the satisfaction of just next episode, and that instant gratification, I think I've learned to appreciate delayed gratification and waiting week to week to like build up the suspense, to build up especially with these shorter shows.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
With these shorter shows, these 6 episodes are typically, in 6 episodes I finish it pretty quickly in one sitting.
Yeah.
But for a 13 episode show that's roughly 45 to 50 minutes, there's a lot to get through, and I mean, I appreciate those binges, but if I had to give you an answer right now, I would have to say I think I'd appreciate the binge.
Yeah.
Let's be honest. If it came out and you had no time, you would make time for it though.
So
What, Daredevil?
Any show.
Yeah, I don't know if it would be for any show. That's the thing.
No, any Marvel show right now, MCU show coming out, you would make time for it.
I don't know. It
And
depends.
because you have it in its totality, you don't have to. You're gonna watch it within a week for sure.
Yeah, for sure. Within a
Exactly.
week.
So that's the beauty of it. You can watch it within a week. You don't have to binge watch it all at once.
Yeah.
But you can watch 2 or 3 episodes. Oh, you know what? I need to go to work. I'm gonna do that. I need to take a break. I need to do stuff like that. But by the week, it'll be done, and I really enjoy that.
Yeah.
Because I feel like with these shows, like you were talking about, like having to wait, that waiting builds up anticipation. The expectations gets higher, and sometimes those expectations are not met.
Yeah. And well, I'm of two minds of it because I think that on one hand I do agree with Gabriel, but on the other hand I disagree because he was like, "Oh, I like stretching out the shorter shows." I think I actually like binging the shorter
shows, yeah.
shows because it's like one long movie, and then I can go back and I can revisit them if I like. Like with the new Marvel shows, which we're gonna talk about the recent Disney Plus series. They're short enough that you can rewatch them, but since they're so stretched out, I haven't had a chance to go back.
Yeah, I haven't rewatched
to them. Yeah, and I'm like, oh, I'm totally gonna throw them into like my Marvel rewatches, but I just haven't because they take up so much time, and then you're on to the next one. I think it all depends on where I am. Like if it's during finals or I'm on vacation, for example, the finale of the last show, I wasn't even in the country, so I had to wait, and I think I get scared sometimes that I'm gonna get spoiled for stuff because I know everyone else is gonna like do it first thing in the morning or even stay up till 3 in the morning and like try to ruin it. And I'm around a lot of people, especially at work. My students particularly, they're gonna be like, "Hey, this thing." So I mean, they know not to do that, or it will affect them academically. But I just that conversation moves so fast nowadays. Going back to Daredevil, when that first season launched, I remember I was working in public school, and it was one of those like take your child to work days. So it just lined up perfectly, like all like the stars aligned, and there was nobody in the school basically, right? So all the kids go to wherever their parents work, and you have like a very small number of kids. And then like it was getting a lot of buzz, like, oh, there's this new show on Netflix. For me, it's like, I've been waiting for this. But for a lot of the other teachers, like, there's this new thing that's going on Netflix. So we huddled like multiple classes in a room and just spent the whole day binge watching it. And we got through like 8 hours of it because it was like, there's just signs on all the teachers' doors. Go to this room. And it's just, we're watching Daredevil season 1, which is probably not the most appropriate. I mean, it's older kids, it's high school, but like, that's just what we did that day because there were no classes anyways. And I'll just remember that. Like, that was an opportunity to binge it and enjoy it.
It's also a good way to teach good writing if you're an English teacher.
That's true.
Good storytelling.
I probably could have taken advantage of that, but I didn't because there were barely any kids.
All right, guys, this is how you tell a story in 13 episodes.
Now we're going to watch, I don't know what would be a bad example of
Iron Fist.
Okay. So moving on to the next couple. So Daredevil was like a huge hit. Then we got Jessica Jones, which is based on the comic series Alias by Brian Michael Bendis. Also one of my favorite comics. I know you've read this, right, Lynn?
No, yeah, I loved it, yeah. Brian Bendis also wrote for
Daredevil, correct, right, yeah. And there's a lot of like cross there. So this was like a natural fit. That Alias run is one of my favorite series. So this was, I loved Jessica Jones. I started to see a pattern though, where like these 13 episode series that Netflix has, maybe they
too long.
Yeah, like 2 or 3 episodes too long.
You know, I saw a tweet that said like the new MCU, the Netflix shows were 13 episodes too long, whereas the MCU are 6 episodes too short. So it seems to me like the magic number might be around 8 to 10 episodes.
Yeah, 8 to 10. That's what I was thinking too. Yeah,
and all released at once.
Because I always felt like, man, Daredevil's so good, but like it could have been 2 episodes shorter, and Jessica Jones especially could have been 3 episodes shorter.
So I don't feel like that for Daredevil. The other
not
shows,
as much because they use their time very well.
Jessica Jones, I can see that. I started to feel like that in the other shows.
But even with Daredevil, like for example, season 1, spoilers like 10 years ago, but like the whole thing is an origin story. The first 13, so it's like 13 hours before we see Daredevil. Maybe 10 hours is like a little snugger. It's like 4 episodes till we get a villain. I think maybe the pacing could have been, because I get a lot of people who tell me
it's slow.
Yeah, like they tried it for a couple episodes, they never finished Daredevil, and I'm like, well, you made a big mistake, but I understand why. Yeah. The pacing is really, really slow. So Jessica Jones,
great. I love that show.
Yeah, Luke Cage,
great villain in
that's
Kilgrave.
Luke Cage is another one where
Luke Cage was 6 episodes too long
Mm-hmm.
because I remember watching it with Gabriel, and once they killed Cottonmouth, we were like,
Again, spoilers. But,
we were like, what's going on here? Will we? And then
It's
you
like-
watch
it's
the
almost-
next 6, and I don't even remember who the villain is, but I'm like, okay,
Remember-
this show ended like,
We've discussed this. It's Mariah and the Bushmaster.
oh yes, Jet.
So these episodes lead up to like a mid-season finale that's good enough, and then we kind of get like extra episodes. Right? Yeah. So it was a weird structure for Luke Cage. I still enjoyed it. Then Iron Fist was like a huge disappointment for me at the time.
It is, man. It was.
I know you're very passionate about this, and when we were planning for this episode, I think Link hinted at like, I don't know if I can keep my conversation about this show down to what was it that like aches at you about the show?
Iron Fist.
Yeah.
Oh. The acting.
Yeah.
The choreo, the fighting.
Mm.
Like, how is
combat,
it? Yeah, you're Iron Fist, the immortal Iron Fist. You know, like this amazing fighter.
A book based on another epic run. Who's it that writes that Iron Fist run?
It was Matt Fraction
Matt
and Ed
Fraction.
Brubaker.
And Brubaker again, right?
And it's like, how do you're supposed to be like this complete awesome, like badass at fighting, right? Martial arts. But then the action in Daredevil is so much better than yours.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, that's very disappointing.
Yeah.
It's very stale.
It's very stale. And that's why I love Shang-Chi. When I was like, I mentioned it. Like,
Yeah.
once I saw Shang-Chi, I was like, this is what Iron Fist could have been.
Mm-hmm. And that was like the expectations. Like, we're big fans of Frank Miller, Brian Michael Bendis' runs on Daredevil, and to see that come from the page to television was amazing. And I think we had that same kind of expectation
For Iron
for
Fist.
Fraction and Brubaker's
Yeah.
Iron Fist, and then it just missed the mark, like, totally. And I think it started dragging down the entire
Yeah.
Netflix slate. So we got Defenders where they all teamed up.
It had some cool parts, yeah.
Yeah, it had
Did
some-
not.
And I think
It was me. Go ahead,
I
Gabriel.
think that's what happens is like Iron Fist is so crucial to the story of Defenders
Mm-hmm.
that's why it drags it down, because it's like
You know,
it's like a lot of the events of these shows have been leading up to this team up.
Yeah.
And
I wish I could cut
Obviously
the
they-
fat out.
yeah, they have obviously like they have their separate stories, but they have underlying motifs that it's like it's going in this direction, and just having Iron Fist be such a pivotal part where that show and that character and that, like, I guess that performance is just pretty weak in comparison.
Yeah.
I think really drags it down, as you guys were saying.
And if I remember it correctly, we got Daredevil season 2 before Defenders. Yeah, for sure, because it leads to the
Yeah.
events, and then that leads
Yeah.
to season 3. And we got Punisher, which is another dream
oh
for
my
me.
goodness.
Punisher in season 2 of Daredevil, and then we got announced he was gonna get his own show, which is another, like, this is where basically my childhood like fantasies are just coming to life, and we're just getting
Yeah.
announcements. So to know that Punisher was coming, I was also disappointed Punisher wasn't in Defenders. Was that a weird thing for me? Like, was that a weird expectation?
Yeah, I think it
I
was
feel
because
like
they
Punisher
weren't.
would've
Yeah, they
just Punisher just would have murdered a bunch of people, and I don't think they would work together like
would
that.
have murdered a bunch of
I think he could have
ninjas.
been a foil. It was just that basically he just came off being on the show that led to Defenders, and it was already announced that he was going to get his own show. And I didn't think he was going to have a big part of it, but it was just like, here's a gap of like what I like and a lot of what I don't like, which was a lot of the Iron Fist stuff and some of the like back end Luke Cage. I mean, these shows get a second season. It's not really worth discussing that much, I don't think. They end up all getting canceled, which we were all happy for a couple of reasons, right? I think, yeah, go ahead.
I'm trying to figure out what reasons would be.
Well, for me, I think it was just because like the Daredevil was doing great. Jessica Jones wasn't as good as
It
it
was
was
not.
at the beginning.
I'm still shocked that there's I recently found out that there's a season 3 of Jessica Jones.
I think I recently found that too.
I have not watched that.
I'm not sure if I've seen it
I was
actually.
like, what, Gabriel? Do we have to watch this together?
Because the show was like pre-canceled, right? It was.
Yeah,
like-
it was canceled before it even came out.
Yeah.
I kind of gave up, honestly. I don't even think I made it through Luke Cage season 2.
Mhm.
I didn't watch Iron. I saw the first 3 episodes of Iron Fist season 2 to give it a chance, but just wasn't it. The only thing I saw through and through were the Punisher. I love the Punisher.
Yeah.
And then Daredevil. I think Daredevil, like season 3 for me.
Yeah, oh my
Oh
goodness.
man, so good.
It's
If
top
anyone
tier, man.
hasn't seen Daredevil, and if you watched the new Spider-Man movie, or you're excited about the future of the Marvel universe, go back and watch Daredevil because I think it's gonna be important and it's just so good just on its own.
And the villain
Yeah,
is gonna you're gonna see him.
yeah. There's so much.
You're gonna see Kingpin.
So much is gonna make more sense for you. But I made it through all of this. Yeah, Iron Fist and Luke Cage. Iron Fist season 2 I think is better than 1, but it's not much better than 1. And it has this like cliffhanger where it's like, oh, where are they going? I don't care. I don't want to see it. It's fine.
It's not really worth it.
Where are
Yeah.
they going? I don't know. You're gonna fall off this cliff.
Yeah. But I think the other reason is we felt like, okay, if the Marvel shows are canceled now, they can get off Netflix. And we can start
After a
incorporating.
while, right?
Yeah. We know that it's gonna be a long wait. I think it was like 2 or 3 years.
Yeah.
Right. But time moves, slowly, and I've waited my whole life for this, so I can wait a couple of more years. And I think we're just trying to see the fruits of that. Before we move on to the most important part of our conversation, which is the slate of shows that ties into the MCU, there's one show that just popped into my mind that I forgot about when I was thinking about. You guys ever saw Inhumans?
No, I heard that was bad, right?
No, I heard it was really bad. so
Yeah,
didn't
I went to the
bother.
movie theater to watch the first 2 episodes on IMAX, and it was the worst experience. If I could say something good about Inhumans is if any of our listeners loved Eternals, go watch Inhumans. 'Cause it's like basically the same thing. So with the Marvel TV shaken at this point in time, we get the advent of Disney Plus. And with Disney Plus, Disney puts a lot of money and marketing and a lot of their eggs in this basket that this channel has to blow up fast. So the first thing they promise us, or at least one of the first things they promise us, besides new Star Wars, is new Marvel shows. And not just any Marvel shows, shows with movie quality that tie in to the rest of the universe. What were your initial thoughts heading into this year's slate of shows?
I didn't have any expectation.
Really?
Yeah, because I learned not after watching Daredevil and watching other shows. I've learned let me not not raise my expectations for TV shows. But then I'll talk about it. I ended up not taking that advice
Right.
and putting my expectations higher and higher. And I'll mention that a little bit later.
So it lasted like as long as the marketing lasted.
Yeah.
But by the time the shows came around,
Yeah.
you were already raising expectations. What about you, Gabe?
I think once they announced the shows, I was excited. I
Yeah.
mean,
What made you excited?
the fact that they were gonna tie in
Yeah, that's so
um,
cool.
to the films. It's just because I always remember that how Agents of Shield ties into Thor: The Dark World and Winter Soldier,
Mhm.
and you having that experience live. As I was watching those episodes of Agents of Shield, I was like, "This is amazing! I can't imagine what it's like to be live."
Yeah.
And once they announced it, and like in my head, I was just like, "So they're gonna basically kind of cross over, like I would think seamlessly, or like
Mhm.
they're gonna have to be more intentional with what we put out there for the TV is gonna have to match up with what's gonna be on the films."
Right.
And so we had some time, like obviously with the pandemic and not having the films come out. I think there was some sort of kind of switch up with the scheduled release for
Mhm.
some of them.
Yeah, Falcon and Winter Soldier was supposed to be first.
That's
Wa-
that was the
and
first
so-
one that was supposed to come out.
Yeah, and then WandaVision
Oh, that makes sense.
it moved up a little bit. It came out about the same time it was, but it would have been the second one. We would have already been 2 shows in, yeah.
But I mean, for me, I was excited. I mean, I can't really talk about the shows without talking about The Mandalorian. Obviously,
with
it's
the
not a Marvel
success
property.
with the success of Mandalorians,
It raised
it
your
raises the
expectations.
expectations of the other
Because
Marvel
you're like,
shows.
oh,
No.
they could do Star Wars. They
What?
could totally do Marvel, right?
exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly, and I mean, one of the things, not to get into Star Wars too much, but one of the things I love is like you get to like week to week, you get to go in, you get another tiny piece of that world that you're so used to just watching, waiting for years
Mm-hmm.
that for the films to bring you. And so I was just excited they were giving this treatment to Marvel.
Yeah.
And with everything that was going on, I mean, it was nice because this is something you could watch at home.
Yeah, and that
when the pandemic came
yeah,
around.
it especially came in handy during the pandemic because Marvel got to regain some momentum before we went back into theaters.
Hmm.
So, like we mentioned, Falcon and the Winter Soldier should have been first. It got delayed because they weren't done with some shooting. So we ended up with WandaVision as our big debut. What was your reaction to WandaVision?
Oof. Okay, so so this is a show that kind of out of the main MCU shows.
Yeah.
This is my least favorite,
Really?
and it's because my expectations. I remember I told you, all right, let me lower my expectations because not every show is going to be Daredevil.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have to measure every show
Yeah.
by by how good Daredevil is. I got to enjoy the show just as they are. That's what I try to tell myself. That's what you tell me. I'm trying to be a good objective person here, but my subjectivity keeps on.
Of course.
Yeah,
You can only withhold like A, your personality, B, your like vested interest.
exactly. So I tried. I really did. But anyways, it came out. I was enjoying it, right? But around that time, and this was like, when was it? Like January.
Mm-hmm.
I
January,
got
yeah.
TikTok. I created a TikTok account because I had nothing much to do. I'm like, let me just do TikTok to see what's all about, and I really enjoyed it. And I found this account
Oh no.
by this guy named Straw Hat Goofy,
Okay.
and I love that guy. That guy's awesome.
Yeah.
However, he ruined WandaVision for me, and I told you, like, I think I was telling you because after every, and this is why I don't like the weekly schedule release because
And
it really gives people time to think.
Yeah, I do agree with that because I love the week to week conversation, but not with the whole world.
Yes.
Now with the whole world in the conversation, there's too many voices.
Too many voices, right? And that's what I was looking into this guy, and this guy's a huge nerd. He knows what he's talking about, right? And after every episode, he's expecting, because it's a Marvel movie, right? It's a Marvel show. You're gonna expect little, what's it called, Easter eggs, right?
That's
And
right.
some of these Easter eggs can say, oh, they tell you who's gonna come up, right? The little foreshadow of who's coming.
Right.
And after every episode, I'd go to this guy's account, and he predicted what was gonna happen, and it would just raise up my expectations. Like and it was a roller coaster because first off, it started off by me thinking, okay, cool, we're gonna somehow get the X-Men through this from this. Oh,
Yeah.
we're gonna get Fantastic Four. We're gonna get Reed Richards. He's gonna be that agent that we're looking for. And it just kept on increasing the expectations. And once the show was done, none of those expectations were met. None of these characters were introduced, right?
Yeah.
And even then, too, was it Olsen or was it Paul Bettany that said that there was
Paul Bettany.
No, it was Olsen, right?
No, it's Paul Bettany, yeah.
That said that there was a Luke Skywalker, like Mark Hamill type of
Level
cameo.
An actor he really wanted to work with.
That, right?
Yeah.
And I was
I think
so
I think it was both.
Oh,
I think
she
Olsen
said it,
the
yeah.
Olsen said
Skywalker
Luke
thing.
Skywalker thing. Bettany said someone I really want to work with.
Yeah, she said that, right? So my expectation, all right, who is a Luke Skywalker type character that's up there with Mark Hamill, right?
Mm-hmm.
I thought Magneto. You get me? There is that connection.
Yeah.
Magneto is Wanda's father.
Yeah.
I thought, oh, is this how we introduce the X-Men? Is this how we get Ian McKellen?
Yeah.
The great Ian McKellen? And no, I didn't get any of that. I got freaking fake Silver Surfer.
Well, even then, and I knew when I read that, I knew it wasn't going to be Luke Skywalker level. But I think if it would have actually been Quicksilver opening that forbidden door to the Fox Marvel movies, that would have been like a big storytelling cameo. But then they took it away from us by the end of the series. It wasn't actually, And then I don't know what Paul Bettany was thinking. For those of you unaware, he was hyping this actor that he always wanted to work with that would come on the show, and it was just another version of himself. So there was two visions, and
How
got to
egotistical is? What a narcissist, bro.
I think he was joking.
It was a troll.
No, bro.
Yeah.
No, guy's a jerk.
But that's again when we're talking about too many voices. For example, on this show, what we try to do is examine storytelling. Pick up on themes, evaluate narrative structure, foreshadowing, hints for the future, and interconnectivity, of thought. But sometimes that conversation has gone so far before I've even seen the episode.
Yeah.
Because if I watch the show the next day and then go on a forum, for example, I don't have a ton of social media, but I do have Reddit, and I go up there and I look at the episode conversation, and they've exhausted every piece of information on the face of the planet Earth trying to guess where this show is going, and it just feels you talked about like not meeting expectations. It's expectations that the show doesn't build for itself.
Exactly.
It's entirely outside of the narrative.
It's people doing a disservice to the show.
Yeah.
I will say in the event of that Elizabeth Olsen comment, that was
she wasn't trolling when she said that, right?
No.
Like she really.
I think she believed it, but honestly, like I don't know how someone. I knew it wasn't gonna be ever as big because I don't think anything can be as big.
Yeah.
Personally, for me with Luke Skywalker, but I definitely do agree with Link that since this is the first one, I did kind of enter that culture of theorizing every 5 seconds once the show is over until the next week, until the next week, until the next week, to the point that when you get to the end and these things don't pay off in the sense of like all these expectations that you built, there is a sense of disappointment because you had gargantuan like expectations for something that, as you said, the show does not build for itself. I think that if I had to look at it, like looking back on the experience of watching it, I enjoyed the show.
Yeah.
But I think in the moment, week to week, I mean, I still had a good time watching the show, and like week to week, I was like, it left me like, oh, what's going to happen next? But I do think that with that being the first one and experiencing like, oh, what's going to happen next week? What's going to happen next week? And seeing all these Twitter theories and YouTube videos and TikToks, I think that they did kind of breed the bad habit of creating these expectations, which for me personally wasn't it wasn't such a great thing once the show was over.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, I enjoyed WandaVision, I think, but I think in the moment I was like, that was good. Let's see what's next.
Yeah.
What do you guys think of the style of each episode for the first?
So that's what I was gonna say. Now, how about we actually talk about the show itself, right? Go ahead. You were saying the style of every episode?
I thought it was cool. You get me? I thought it was kind of like a love letter to TV, right?
Yeah.
So I thought that was
loved
cool.
It. And I thought they were really smart because they released episode 1 and 2 in one shot.
Yeah.
And I was like, by the end of 1, I was like, I know why you need momentum into 2 because people would have dropped off the show after just one episode.
Exactly. But I thought it was cool. Some people think it's genius and they love that about the show, and they.
Yeah, and genius might be a strong word, but I think it was a really good choice for a genre.
Yeah, because
we talk about genre a lot here on the show and how Marvel's still making new movies. We talked about Shang-Chi being the first like martial arts film, and some of these newer movies finally exploring film genres and storytelling genres, and it was great because there was nothing in the Marvel Cinematic Universe looks like WandaVision.
Yeah,
it feels like WandaVision.
Yeah. So that's true.
Yeah.
So I thought that was cool.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like, oh, man, I really thought they were going to give us an Office one. And when they gave us
the Modern Family,
it wasn't. I mean, I wasn't disappointed.
Nah, man, it's your agenda against ABC, Link.
It's my agenda against ABC.
But you also have to look at it this way: that it basically is the Office one because they're a family. It's not. We're going to compare it to Modern Family because it's a family show in that style. But really, The Office creates that like subgenre of the sitcom, the docu sitcom. And it is what it is. Yeah. It's just the setting is a house because it's her kids and her husband. It's been following all these family sitcoms throughout the series, so it's going to be about a family, but it's really a love letter to that Parks and Rec, talk to the camera, third wall genre in and of itself. It's still an homage to The Office, I think.
I don't think so.
I mean, it's an homage to that genre that The Office started. That ends probably with Modern Family.
No, because I think people are going to think, it's an homage to Modern Family. Instead of what you just said.
Yeah, but and that's true. But like, if you look at it from a TV perspective, I don't think that any of the episodes are an homage to a specific show, which might not be true because probably the Lucy one and stuff.
The Lucy one, the Malcolm in the Middle one.
But I think it's also just that time period in that genre that those shows tend to be like atypical of. So there's a lot of nods to specific shows, but they're also like time periods. It's more about the kind of shows that we made in those time periods, So I look at it like a decades type of thing. Yeah. Going back to what Gabriel said about like it was okay in the moment, I agree. I think the show is better than I enjoyed it. I think looking back on it, the show's super good. I think it's one of the strongest one of the strongest female-led narratives.
Yeah.
You know, because Vision's not much of a lead. You know, I think there was a lot lacking in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and I think very subtly Wanda gets to jump at the forefront.
Yeah.
And I think that's what happened in Phase 4, that we finally got those female heroines that we needed, that were there all along, because we talked about last episode Black Widow and how we finally get a female-led film from someone who's been along for the ride with us.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I think the show was excellent. I think if anyone hasn't seen it, it's definitely worth going back to.
It's a more, in my opinion, it's more enjoyable if
Yeah.
you just binge watch.
Yeah, I agree. Definitely.
Yeah.
Week to week was a hassle because of the narrative. My last point on WandaVision is this is where the shows start to get a little heavy on continuity, where I know a lot of people jumped on board on the show just because it was on Disney Plus. It's free, you know, theoretically. It's already in their house. They don't have to go anywhere. And just so many people that watched this show, it was like their first Marvel thing in years or at all.
Mhm.
And they were just so confused.
Yeah.
Like, who's Vision? Like, like why he's a robot? This is a dream? You know, who's the guy with the silver hair? You know, you have to know a lot to kind of understand
Yeah.
what this show is hinting at, and even where it leads off, because it feels like this show doesn't have an ending.
It does not have an end.
Because you have like a white Vision and he leaves, and where's he going? Like, we're starting to get used to it. Like, we don't need all the answers because we're gonna get them later down the line. But for people watching this show, they end the show a little confused and they don't know what's next. And there is no season 2, right?
Yeah, I don't.
You know, so it's just like, that's it. The show finished, and like it ends with a bunch of question marks. It's a formula that audiences are gonna have to start getting used to, and I don't know if that's good or bad.
I really enjoyed Randall Park in this show.
Yeah, he
as
was
Jimmy
good.
Woo.
Yeah,
He stole the show for me. A lot of people got on him, and I thought that was pretty cool.
I like
specifically on the actor, like, oh, Randall Park's awesome.
yeah.
And so I love the fact that he got love from that. You know, such a minor character who's also been in other MCU stuff, but now gets love because of it. So I thought that was pretty cool.
I mean, particularly Ant-Man, which is one of your favorites.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So also, Kat Dennings comes back
Dennings is
after
good, yeah.
several years, and I think this is a good fit for her.
Yeah.
She doesn't really fit in the Thor series anymore, but you can just plug her in somewhere else, and we're starting to see that now.
Do you think we can see her in Thor, Love and Thunder, or God of Love and Thunder?
I don't think so, because I think it's all going to be on space and another planet.
See, but
you know, but we never know.
you know,
'Cause
yeah. But
I
wouldn't
honestly-
it be cool though for her to see Jane as
Ooh.
Thor, as her, her
No,
friend
now-
being
yeah,
Thor,
now you're
Thorita?
Now you're convincing. There's no such thing as Sarita. Now you're convincing me that could be a possibility. Okay, but
I don't think she's casted.
I don't
in
think
it.
she's gonna be in it.
that's a
but
good
yeah.
point. All right,
She's
thanks.
not gonna be in it, but
Well, in about 45 seconds, Link built up expectation I didn't know I had, and then tore it down.
That'd be cool, yeah.
Yeah. Well, you never know. Maybe she shows up on some other show and talks about it. Sees a clip on a TV or something. Who knows? Falcon and the Winter Soldier is the second show that came out.
I learned to lower my expectations and to not go to TikTok and view some of these accounts.
Yeah.
So by doing that, I ended up enjoying Falcon and Winter Soldier a lot more than I enjoyed WandaVision.
I think this one was probably the one I was looking forward to the most.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
I think.
Why?
Well, Bucky for me is a character that I
Mhm.
really, really enjoy. I love Sebastian Stan in that role. But I also was really interested to see. I didn't think there was really going to be any magic in this, and then, not to say that I'm not a fan of magic. I am, but I thought it was interesting to see, like, maybe not like ground level, but a bit more grounded than we have seen in
Mhm.
the past.
Yeah.
And I mean it I don't know, it gave me Winter Soldier vibes, and
Yeah.
seeing that name back in the title, I mean, it brought back good memories because The Winter Soldier
Yeah.
is one of my favorite Marvel movies. And like I said, I mean, I really enjoy the character, and I do like the character of Falcon. Whatever qualms I have about Anthony Mackie as a person is a different thing, but I do like his portrayal of Falcon.
Yes, this universal Anthony Mackie hate that I must have missed and don't understand.
He's kind of a jerk sometimes.
Apparently. Maybe I don't really look into, I guess, individuals' personalities.
'Cause you don't have a TikTok, that's why.
Yeah, that's what it is. That's so I don't have a TikTok, but I still managed to get hyped for this show because it feels like I say every time we discuss anything, oh, it's based on my favorite. This is my favorite. But it's really because Marvel has done an excellent job adapting their best material to films and television. So
I mean, they know their product.
Right. So we've talked about all these like grounded stories, Captain America, Daredevil, Hawkeye, which we'll talk about in a moment, you know, based on epic runs by Matt Fraction, Ed Brubaker, Winter Soldier, and his run here where Falcon becomes Captain America, and the stories that he tells in the comics of when Bucky becomes Captain America. That whole Brubaker run of Captain America, I'm super excited. And Zemo is one of my favorite villains.
Oh yes, the fact that we got Zemo back,
and I never imagined.
I did not imagine. Yeah. First of all, I also did not imagine we'd get GSP back as. Bedrock.
Yes, I'm a low key Batroc of the Leaper fan, and I'm a big GSP fan.
We were impressed with his performance.
Yes, we were impressed with his performance. Loved him in that movie. Never imagined him coming back, having an even bigger role.
Because I think he's like the perfect villain for or a small villain,
like
for
a
this.
D-level Captain America villain. Yeah,
and oh man, I'm so happy that we got him because I love GSP as an MMA fighter, and when I remember watching it, was it in Winter Soldier that he was in, or was it Civil War?
It's Winter Soldier.
Yeah, Winter Soldier.
When he was there, I'm like, oh, this is so great. Oh, we don't see him anymore, and then randomly we get him back, and then we get Zemo as well.
Yeah,
who I think is one of the better villains and
one of the best. I think.
Yeah, in the MCU. And they used them so well. Yeah.
One gripe I might have with this show, I think they used Batroc perfectly, but I think Zemo could have stuck around a little longer.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they sold this show to me on Zemo, and he's great. The character's great. The actor's great. And they kind of take him out of the narrative quickly to focus on Bucky and Winter Soldier, but I think it was a mistake.
We're going to see him later on, though, right? Somewhere else?
I think so.
With
the Contessa?
I think
Contessa?
I think this show... has a lot of great stuff.
Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Falcon and the Winter Soldier,
Falcon
not our show, right?
I mean, our show too. I think that Falcon and the Winter Soldier has a lot of great elements towards it.
Yeah.
But I also think it suffers a bit in the fact that there might be a little too much for the amount of episodes that
How many episodes was it?
It was 6, I believe.
Yeah.
Aren't they all 6 episodes?
No, they're not all 6 episodes.
WandaVision and What If, I think, are 9.
I believe this was supposed to run about 8, but I might be mistaken the count. They didn't know because they were still editing the show, so I'm not sure what the final count would have been. But I know that there's one gripe with this show that I totally understand, and it's that the narrative is a little unfocused and
it is
muddled, especially like in between the second to third act, and that's because a huge part of this storyline initially was about viral infection. And they had to cut that. And if you go into the show and you watch looking for that, you're going to realize there's a bunch of missing gaps in the story. Not plot holes per se, but just like you get to point A to point B without like really any explanation. It was like Mama Doña, she's sick because reasons, and the reason is a huge viral infection storyline that gets excised from the series. So
because of COVID, right?
Yeah, because of COVID, right? So they delayed it. They were like, okay, let's wait to see if things get better. They didn't,
and they pushed it.
Yeah. So they had the whole superhuman thing versus like viral infection and all that, and like there's just a big chunk of the show that's missing. And
that makes sense. I did not realize.
Yeah,
that, but
it kind of doesn't make sense, and you just kind of go with the flow.
Yeah. Wow. Now looking back, I'm like, yeah.
Yeah. So
but I think it started. I think it started strong. I mean, I really I love the stuff with like Bucky and Sam living their lives and having their own problems.
Yes.
Like Bucky going to therapy.
Yes.
And having to deal with
that's grounded. That's grounded.
The sins of his past,
Sam not being able to get out, take a loan.
Right.
Like Tony didn't leave him a giant fund that the Avengers can just pull out of, and I thought that was a very interesting part where Sam's talking to the bank and he's like, "You're an Avenger, you don't have money for this."
Yeah, and not to get too. Go ahead.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
Well, not to get too into the weeds of it. Also, it addresses race in America, which is something I did not expect on a Disney Plus show.
I think it also addresses race. It obviously happens in America, but like for comic book fans as well, because they could be not even comic book fans, because you see it everywhere.
Yeah,
in Star Wars as well. But
just geek culture.
Geek culture could be very toxic and racist as well.
Yeah,
and they address it here pretty well.
Yeah, I think these shows start to make a stride in representation. Whether it be race or gender, they start to take those steps that we've kind of been waiting for or missing out of. And it was a heavy conversation, I think, whether Falcon could be the symbol for America and everything, and whether he should even accept that. And I think it was a difficult conversation that Disney didn't need to have, but they were willing to. And I think that was ambitious.
I thought it was great. I loved it.
So Falcon and the Winter Soldier was good. Maybe not perfect.
But I did like the introduction of Julia Louis-Dreyfus.
Oh, wow.
JLD.
What a get. She's great.
I thought that was like her coming in. I was like, what? I didn't expect it. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't think anyone expected that, right?
Yeah, no, yeah. Because usually you get almost everything spoiled, right?
Yeah, that came out of nowhere.
Yeah, that's out of left field. I would never even dream of it. But once I saw it,
I was like, is this her character from Veep with a with the purple highlight? Yeah. What's going on here?
I mean, Marvel did it again. It's like we've talked about in the past. We're so surprised that they get these actors and actresses, and it's like, why is it surprising at this point?
No, but this one was like out of left field because she is great in her genre of comedy.
Yeah,
you don't really see her go out.
She doesn't do a lot of stuff.
Or you don't see her a lot like in dramas or anything like that. So them getting Robert Redford, Anthony Hopkins.
It's an actor in a movie. Yeah. It's expected even when we're surprised.
Yeah, but this.
Yeah.
Wow. This came out of nowhere.
Yeah. And she's cast perfectly, probably just because Julia Louis-Dreyfus
is amazing.
Is going to be amazing no matter what. But they fit her in a place where I wouldn't have even thought about.
Yeah.
Give me all your favorite actors. I wouldn't have thought of putting her in, but it's perfect where she is.
Contessa Valentin, something.
Yeah.
I also liked Wyatt Russell. And his character.
That's right.
I enjoyed that.
I hated that guy.
A lot of people hated him.
which is how good he was.
Which is, exactly. A lot of people were like, the new Captain America show sucks because the new Captain America sucks. And I'm like, are you watching the show? He's the bad guy on the show, right?
They're trying to make him the suck, right?
Yeah. It's on purpose. His face is supposed to be punchable. But I think by the end, I think the message gets through. We move on to Loki. Loki's the third series. We got a lot this year.
I had no expectations for Loki because I had no idea what was going to happen here.
I honestly had some doubts. For example, with WandaVision, I was like, ooh, this is great to give them time to have time for themselves, Wanda and Vision. Falcon and Winter Soldier, cool. It's basically like a Cap movie without Cap. But with Loki, I was like, do we really need...
Do we need a Loki show? I mean, it's cool because Loki's the best part of every Thor movie.
Yeah, exactly. But also, he's already escaped death, twice? Well, no, actually, he dies in Thor 1, Thor 2, Thor... No, he survives Thor 3?
Infinity War.
Infinity War.
And he's dead in Infinity War.
Yeah.
He doesn't survive Infinity War.
No, well, he survives them somehow by coming back in Endgame, Yes.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's cool that they explain this.
Well, and also Infinity War has, an iconic line where it's I think he's really gone this time, and there will be no resurrections. Which is technically true.
Because from that timeline, he's dead.
But we see him again in Endgame, and that Endgame version joins us for this show. So that's a lot of Loki. But this show was excellent. Probably the strongest one at this point. Is that fair to say? The strongest one?
Yeah.
Yeah. Better than WandaVision and Falcon and the Winter Soldier. I think it's the most even.
Yeah, I agree with you on that one.
It doesn't have ups and downs with, there's very little qualms.
It's the most
consistent.
Consistent, yeah.
Yeah.
I agree. I do. I like that Falcon and the Winter Soldier does deal with more real issues here, the whole racial stuff. Mm-hmm. But I did enjoy Loki because it came out. Came out of nowhere. For me.
I really enjoyed Owen Wilson in this.
Yes. Oh yeah. Wow.
Yeah, he was a surprise. I like him at times, But I haven't in the past been like a huge Owen Wilson fan.
Wow.
But he really, I think this was a home run for him. It's almost like he settled into like a more mature, which he's done in the past as well, but like a role where he kind of takes a backseat, and I thought he did really well.
When do you not like Owen Wilson?
I mean, very early on in his career,
Okay.
like he does like a lot of like dumb comedy stuff, and I don't know, he can be grating. There was a point when he got really hot that he was like in 20 movies a year.
That's true.
Yeah, and it was like, okay, Owen Wilson.
You're right, because those movies I avoid.
Yeah.
But then I watch him in Wes Anderson movies, and I'm like, oh, I love this guy.
Okay, so you only watch like his best stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
Even then, early on in the Wes Anderson movies, he's not the strongest part of those movies.
No, I prefer Luke Wilson.
Yeah. So, but he was good. Tom Hiddleston was great. You know, this is a great cast. We got it. You know, what did you think about all the Lokis?
I thought that was a lot of fun. I thought them going into that, what was it called?
That universe,
that
right?
place
That
where they all go
world.
to?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not
Where
the
they get
Void.
sent? I think it's the Void.
The Void, yeah.
I thought that was a lot of fun seeing the Easter eggs around there and everything. And then seeing all the Lokis together was great. I think that like end credit scene where they showed like all of them with like, is it crocodile? It's not an alligator, right?
Yeah, it's a croc. Yeah.
I thought that was a lot of fun. I was like, huh. Is that something from the comics, or is that completely new?
No, I think that's completely new. And again, I'm not like the end all be all on every comic ever written. There's a lot of stuff out there, but I believe that was an original concept, if I'm not mistaken. Everyone in the room looking at each other.
Well, that walked so Spider-Man could run.
That is true. Okay, all right. Let's talk about that. We get the multiverse, and we get, I think, our first confirmation that it's real and that we're going to dip into it. Because WandaVision is like the third tease. First, we get it in Spider-Man, right?
Yeah, in
I
forgot what it's called. No,
Far From Home. And then we get it ripped out from under us. No, it's not. And then we get it in WandaVision, and then it's not.
Yeah.
Right. And then we get it in Loki, and it is. It is. There is a multiverse. We get literally, we sit down and have a conversation for like about 8 minutes with a guy that just explains to us how the multiverse works. And we knew that the multiverse existed because Doctor Strange, the greatest movie in the MCU, covers it, like introduces the concept, and then we explore it in Endgame, right? With the time heist. But we don't know that there's like that we can pull from it and like jump back and forth and basically explore it the way that the comics do. This is our first like divergent way, because the multiverse in like Endgame is more like just like points in time, and then divergent, like, okay, things go differently, but here we have like all the different versions of Loki, and we start to understand. We introduce the villain, who is he who
Kang?
remains. Well, this one is He Who Remains, which is a form of Kang, which is a form of Nathaniel Richards, right? That's the name. Which is a form of multiple other different versions. So we're going to get a couple of different villains out of this, but they're the same guy, technically.
Okay.
Yeah. So this is just opens up, and you're going to like that because that leads right into the next Ant-Man movie, Link.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, you know what's funny? Because I was going to ask, when do we see Loki next? Because we know there's going to be a Loki show in the future.
Yeah, in some distant future.
Yeah, but I was trying to think, like, okay, when do we see him again? Are we going to see him maybe in Doctor Strange? Or now that you mentioned that,
I mean, so much changes so quickly. Like, for example, we just talked about Doctor Strange 2 possibilities coming off of Spider-Man just a week ago, and now we're getting word that like anything is fair game. That like Multiverse of Madness might have anything you've ever seen by any Marvel property at any point in time. So yeah, maybe he's there. Maybe he shows up at the end credit of the next Marvel series. Maybe we don't see him for 2 years, and when we finally get a Loki 2, I have no idea how to answer that question because I'm here for the ride. And I think, as you mentioned, I'm not sure I'm in for all the speculation and everything.
No, because I was trying to figure out, okay,
yeah,
what happens to Loki now?
Yeah, I think for the most part, we're not going to really know that answer until season 2
okay.
of Loki. Yeah, but we might see him before then. I mean, you never know at this point.
You never know, yeah, Marvel.
Yeah, we're just coming off of Spider-Man: No Way Home, which is the craziest thing I've ever seen. Like,
what? This is crazy.
So Loki was great. It was a brilliant, nice narrative. It took some bold steps.
One thing I really enjoyed about Loki,
Yeah.
and this is a theme that I've seen here in these shows, is that some of the showrunners and directors that they're getting for these shows,
Yeah.
I don't want to say that they're nobodies, but
They're not huge
They're not
names.
huge names, right?
Yeah.
So for the guy for the showrunner for Loki, Michael Waldron,
Yeah.
he is one of Dan Harmon's like writers.
Yeah.
So this guy worked on Community,
Okay.
Harmon Quest, Rick and Morty.
Right.
So just seeing like, oh man, like a guy from the comedy genre
Mhm.
excelling in this, I thought that was pretty cool.
Well, I mean, we already had that, right, with the community directors.
No, yeah, you see
Yeah.
it. You see it. Community. Yeah, you see it with the Russo brothers. You
Yeah.
see it with Adam McKay writing
Mm-hmm.
Ant-Man.
Yeah.
So I thought. So I always appreciate
more
stuff like that.
representation
Yeah,
right there
I
for
appreciate
the
small stuff like that.
Comedy genre. Yeah, I'm not super big into TV and like who makes it and who does it. Traditionally been more into film.
Yeah.
And I TV seems to be more of a labor of love because I feel like you don't get as big of a reputation as like movie
don't, yeah.
directors and writers.
But I do think that maybe from this crop of directors and writers that Marvel is getting to write these shows, maybe they get to write their future movies.
Yeah,
Because
absolutely.
like you said, these are people who don't have, you know, they're not a big name,
Mhm.
but you can work on them. You can invest in them.
And at this point, some of these shows are even bigger than some of these movies.
Yeah.
It's almost interchangeable when you're working on these projects. The next thing that we got was What If. We're going to move to that really quickly because I know a lot of people haven't seen it. I think even among us, we haven't.
Yeah, Link has not seen it.
Yeah, so just for Link, we're not going to spoil.
Don't spoil it because apparently I have to watch it.
Yeah, with What If, that was one I wasn't interested in at all. I don't know what it was. I think secretly deep down it's like I wanted a Star Wars What If.
Oh, yeah. That I've heard a lot of
But-
chatter about that.
Didn't we get
And
that?
then
with the...
so then Marvel got it, and then I don't know. I just felt like I knew I was gonna get around to it, but it wasn't like I'm gonna get up at 6 a.m. and watch
It
this.
wasn't
first
a
thing as it
priority, yeah.
drops. Yeah. And
Yeah, I was waiting sometimes 24, 36 hours, right? Before I watched the episode.
I was waiting months.
I think,
You're still
and I think what it was I mean I didn't jump on it the first 2 episodes.
Yeah.
And then I think I dropped by your house to you guys were watching the third one,
Mhm.
and I wasn't a fan of the third one.
Yeah, same.
I think like
It was
you went
okay.
through they went through the whole episode, and then the last like 2 minutes of the episode, I was like, I'd rather watch this. Like I'd rather the whole episode be about this than what I just saw.
Yeah.
And so that didn't really set well with me, I guess, for the rest of the show.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, I gave it a shot, and I saw some of them. Some of them were good. I think it got better in some respects.
Yeah.
And then I think towards the end, like we said, I thought it wasn't going to relate to what was going on in the main
Yeah.
storyline.
couldn't be more
and
wrong.
so, but then sometimes, Marvel will do that to you. So.
And you know what they're doing? They're keeping us honest because they're like, listen, you don't have to like everything, but you better watch everything.
Yeah.
Because we're going to hold you accountable to
Yeah.
it. So it's like, for example, I don't regret watching Eternals. I didn't enjoy the experience, but like, I can't imagine having not seen it because I know they're going to hold my feet to the fire about it at some point in the future. I guess as a pitch to What If for anyone who hasn't seen it, I got hooked like right away in the sense the first episode is about First Avenger. So all you First Avenger fans, all right, a little love letter to you. So of course Peggy Carter was all over it. My wife loved it, so she was in. And if she's into watching an anime week to week, an animated series, I'm there. So the second week, Black Panther, right, is the second episode.
R.I.P. bro.
Yeah, that's my favorite. Like, so watch this show. At least get to episode 2, but you should watch the whole thing. It's pretty short.
You know what? I'm gonna watch it just for Chadwick Boseman.
Yeah, and then Boseman returns back later, so he'll be in.
Oh.
So this will be your last experience with Chadwick Boseman.
Is it his voice?
as Black Panther? Yeah, he is literally on the show, and it's his last Marvel work.
Dang
So
it.
he comes in about 3 episodes, and they're all the best episodes.
You know what? You guys sold me on it now.
Marvel Zombies is great. That episode's really good.
That was fun.
Yeah, and then it all comes out to a like climactic finale at the end, and it all comes together. So I think it's a strong product. It's not the best thing you ever see. I did watch it week to week because it was easy to digest 20 to 25 minutes, in a week before the next time. I think some of them did stack up where I watched them like 2 back to back, but like to compare with Star Wars Visions, that was a big dump. I felt like I really pushed through Star Wars Visions and didn't give them enough time to really enjoy them as individual because I felt like I had to rush through them. So you take your time, get through them at whatever pace, but what if it is essential viewing? Moving forward, the last show that we just got, and the reason why we kept this topic for last is because we just got off the finale for Hawkeye.
Hawkeye.
Do we need a spoiler warning here?
Maybe if you haven't watched
I guess if you haven't watched Hawkeye, I guess
pause.
Come back to it. Watch it. It's super short. How many episodes?
6 episodes,
Yeah, so it's
unfortunately.
Less than 3 hours.
Too short.
Too short. I agree. Okay, and I think we're gonna talk about what everybody's response to it was, but I think that anyone who didn't love it, it's probably because we could have used an episode or two more of this show.
I think it should have gotten 9, like WandaVision.
I could see that
if they want to keep those formats. But I do agree. I think it was a bit too short.
Yeah. With that being said, too, though, I don't know how much these shows cost. So I think that maybe some of these shows have to be like 6 episode because your overall budget has to be capped. I don't know how much.
I think it's 25 mil an episode. So times 6, that's like
150.
Yeah, that's crazy. That's like movie budget. Huh? Was it less for WandaVision?
No,
WandaVision sounds like it was more.
I think WandaVision's is 25.
Oh, okay, so they just let the story breathe, I guess. I don't know. These shows get expensive, so I understand why the episode counts are short. But how long?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. I think all the episodes. I think their budget is 25 mil an episode for all the MCU shows.
How long is Mandalorian usually?
8 episodes.
8 episodes.
Is that what you're asking?
Yeah, but their budget's less, right? It's like 10 mil an episode. Or 15,
I think it is 10 mil.
15?
I think they got a bigger budget for the second season.
Listen up. You give all your money to Mandalorian, okay? Mark my words.
But look, they do 8 episodes at like 10 to 15 mil.
No, give them 20. If you're giving Marvel shows 25, you can give.
But I think honestly,
people
I think
25.
they spend more on the cast in Marvel shows than they do in Star Wars shows.
You know what? You're right there.
That's what it is because it's like Tom Hiddleston, Jeremy Renner, like they're paying Jeremy Renner and Haley Steinfeld.
No, you're right. You're right.
And I mean, on a lesser note, also the other people in the cast. So this show, I loved it. It's clearly influenced on the Matt Fraction comic book run that I made Gabriel read concurrently with this series.
Beautiful.
Yeah, me and Link are I reread it. I know Link's read it. I think he probably remembers it more than I do.
I tried rereading it, but I stopped.
Oh, okay.
Not because I didn't like it, just like
yeah, it's a lot of stuff. Yeah. Especially during this holiday season, which I mean, we could talk about that too. Fitting this show into your holiday schedule, it was a priority for me. It was a family priority. It's what we do. What was your reaction to the show? Why is it so great?
Why is the show so great?
Yeah.
You gave me the little stuff that I like.
Yes.
You gave me the tracksuit mafia, the tracksuit Draculas. They didn't say bro enough, but you gave them to me.
I think they said bro a lot, and then they suddenly stopped saying
it, bro. Yeah,
yeah, they stopped. I think they were just like, we're just gonna do this a first episode, give you 2 more the next one, and that's it.
But man, that was my one complaint after every episode.
Bros.
Not enough bros. I'd go on Twitter and like, not enough bros.
They sprinkled them in because I was like, wait, looking for them. I think there's one in the finale, but yeah.
Yeah, but no, I love them. Mm-hmm. I was shocked by the person they introduced. I did not see that coming.
We're talking about.
I think we can talk about it.
Yeah,
right?
we can talk about it. Okay,
so
paused.
Yeah, okay. Right. I was shocked they introduced Kingpin.
Oh, really? You were shocked?
Because Kingpin's nowhere in the comic book.
Yeah, no. Well,
I didn't know they were gonna do it. I didn't know they were gonna do Echo.
Actually,
and the Echo too.
Actually, I just reread the book, and Kingpin is actually in the comic.
Is
book.
it? Is
yeah, I hadn't remembered
he
it
is.
either. Yeah.
I don't remember.
They have a big meeting with like all the mob bosses, and like the tracksuits do report to Kingpin. Yeah, so it's a minor story, so they like really emphasize it here. when they build up to it, it's kind of like, since it takes place in the comic book world, these characters just kind of drop on the page.
Yeah,
like, here is
yeah.
Kingpin, here he is, and there he's gone.
Yeah,
You know?
man, I guess I gotta reread.
Yeah, you do got to reread it because it's. I have.
Was that one towards the end, or was that when
Nah, it's
they're
like pretty
all
early.
They're bidding for the tape?
Yeah,
right?
they're bidding for the tape, right? Yeah, that's
what it is.
in the first arc. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, you guys were hyping this up like, oh, Kingpin's coming, Daredevil's coming.
Yeah, it's
I was waiting for them to show up at some point. So
I was waiting for Daredevil to show up just because I knew Kingpin was gonna. Well, there was rumors that Kingpin was gonna show up in
Right.
episode 5.
Mhm.
And that was me trying to avoid spoilers, trying to avoid anything because I told you this TikTok influencer kind of ruined that for me.
Mhm.
But then there's Gabriel who just tells me everything. Oh, it sounds. But see, it's better when it comes from Gabriel, in my opinion,
Because it's interpersonal.
Yeah,
I think.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I know, yeah,
Yeah. As far as that goes, these shows have taught me one thing, especially this one. I'm done with that.
Yeah.
I'm like I can't keep doing that, and to pass that on, because it's like giving that knowledge to somebody else. Now they know it too, and now like as much as they don't want to, their expectations are going to be built up as well.
Yeah, because knowledge.
And I'm not.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, because
No, I was saying like
again, we're doing this remotely.
chivalry.
Again, we're doing this remotely. Gabriel at home, sick with COVID. So go ahead.
So, with me, it's just, I think that passing that information along, it isn't necessarily fair. Just because I see something on Twitter, or I see a thread, or I see a conversation, and then just give that to somebody else, because it's still an idea. Like, as much as you don't want to think about it and like genuinely want to be surprised, someone just tells you that. I mean, it's not like someone dropping a leak,
Right.
like in your messages, but still, like, it is an idea, and it is kind of influencing where you think the story might go, because now it's there and like you've heard it, you can't unhear it.
All right, I give you permission to do that to me, though.
Okay.
Only you.
I give you permission to be temperate in what you share, because knowledge is power, and power corrupts. And absolute power corrupts absolutely. And sometimes I feel like the media, this social media aspect, is giving us absolute power, like total knowledge, every aspect of it. Because in our human experience, we're supposed to see, view, and go through things, and then come to terms with how we interpret that, and then come together and compare and contrast with others. But I think in generations past, whether it be the news, whether it be governments, media influences how and what you think, and it's trickling into our entertainment. We talk about how these stories, the reason why we explore them week to week is because the stories we tell shape our morals and our values. But now we're not allowed to interpret the stories through our own prism or our own lens, because we have other people's interpretations, people that we don't even know, and just a smorgasbord of interpretations before we're even able to digest it ourselves within our own spectrum.
Because at this point, I feel like a lot of my thinking when it comes into these shows now is like regurgitated thoughts that I saw on Twitter,
Yeah.
or Reddit, and things like that. Like with the previous shows, I would like watch a YouTube video or two to see if I had an idea, to see like if other people were agreeing with me.
Yeah, or if
But
you
then
were
that
right,
opened up-
of your
Exactly,
assumption.
but that opened a can of worms that it's just like, oh, this is way more than I thought I was gonna get.
Yeah.
And so I think moving forward, for me, it's just gonna be, I'm gonna try and take it. Whatever I see is what I'm gonna get, and I'll talk about my own theories with my friends.
Right.
But it'll be for me. It's not knowledge that I'm getting from somewhere else, because people know a lot.
Yeah.
And the internet, it's a big place, and people will have this, like, they'll pull out, this happened in issue number so and so from this comic. Something that I may know, something that a lot of people may not know. It might be like the most minute detail.
And
But
that
the
is
internet
a
is so
spoiler.
vast.
That is
Yeah.
a spoiler, because
Yeah.
that's where they're drawing from,
Exactly. And that's one thing I feel like with the Marvel creative team, they do very good jobs at adapting so many different things that you wouldn't expect them to. And I mean, I think it's great, because I will see something that happens on the show, and then I'll see the inspiration from the comic, and I'm like, oh, that's actually a really cool way that they did that, and they do it time and time again, and I really enjoy it.
Yeah.
But as for this show, I really enjoyed Haley Steinfeld. I've
She's
been a big
great.
fan of her
Yeah.
since True Grit. I've really kept up with the career. I think she's fantastic.
Yeah. You're a big fan of Pitch Perfect 3, I remember.
I love it. I absolutely love that trilogy. It almost as good as Lord of the Rings, you know.
What? This is
but-
crazy.
Okay, Yelena.
That's another Yelena. Florence Pugh stand out for me in Black Widow.
Mhm.
I think her
And in
introduction
everything
was
she's ever done, probably.
I honestly,
pretty much.
I think she stole the show for me too. The same thing she did in Black Widow.
Yeah.
She did it here. I'm like, dang it.
I think that the conversations that Haley Steinfeld, Yelena, and
Those
Kate
are
Bishop
so
have
beautiful conversations.
are some of the best stuff,
Yeah.
man. It's so good, and I'm a fan, and I
Just
want to
two
show
girls talking over a
just them.
table.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's
Pretty much.
I think that's what was my favorite part of the show. Like those small details, like
Yes.
their conversations together, hilarious. And I love that
Bro,
they
give 'em a
dragged
podcast.
them on. Yes, give them
Yeah.
a podcast in character.
Yeah.
I love that they dragged on like the conversations
Yes.
too. I also love the conversations that the tracksuits have with each other when they're
Mhm.
talking about all the movies where they have tracksuits.
Yeah. Not just that, also the conversation between Kate and
And
Clint.
yes.
Clint.
Yeah. When they're on the subway and then she's like, "Oh, we need to let the dog out." And then he can't hear her because, he's part deaf, and then he repeats that back to her, and oh, we're understanding each other in the car. The dialogue is really
The
sharp.
dialogue
Yeah.
was really good in this. Yeah.
The conversation. Yeah.
No, I think, and especially reading the Matt Fraction comic, it's actually really interesting to see the parallels.
Yeah.
And because I thought it was really cool. Like there's some smaller parts. I haven't finished it. I'm almost done with
Mhm.
it. But from what I've seen so far, it's nice to be able to see certain things that they pull from the comic, and how they translate it and how they fit it into their story. I think that the relationship with Clint and Kate is a bit more, I want to say ambiguous.
Yes.
In the comics, yeah.
Yeah,
Like
absolutely.
you don't know if it's like I'm a mentor to you, or it's like this could be like I care for you in a romantic sense or
Mhm.
something like that.
Because there's a huge age
But
difference between the show and the comics.
Exactly.
It's-
And in the show, I think that they know what they are.
Yeah,
and
it's clear.
and it works.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, I love the chemistry of them together. I like Link said, the little stuff with the Tracksuit Mafia and that conversation about like Imagine Dragons and
Yeah, it's that
Yeah.
her
stuff.
helping him out in such a serious situation, like
Yeah.
that she's being held captive and she's giving him dating advice. And then the fact that pays off at the end where he comes back and he's like, I really appreciate the dating advice. It's like, so why do you have a gun pulled on me? And I love that type of stuff. And I thought a lot of it was fantastic. Kingpin was a big surprise. But he was back. Like,
We got him. He's
Like-
back. And what?
yeah. And having that at the same time with
Yes.
Spider-Man coming
Yeah.
out.
Oh yes, the 1-2 punch.
Mm.
Yeah.
It was great, like seeing Spider-Man spoilers, but seeing Matt Murdock in the movie and then coming back to like get Kingpin days in between is just
Yeah, it's almost
It's
like a
beautiful. It's
1-2-3
fantastic.
punch, because I feel like I was rewarded for watching Black Widow with Yelena. Then I was rewarding for going between Matt and Fisk in Spider-Man and this show, and then just this show in and of itself, like all of it. It was just, I think, a great show.
You could have been born at any time.
Yes, this is a continuing theme. Me personally, I have this one experience. That Hawkeye shirt with the purple arrow, no context, like that logo. I wore that shirt like 10 years ago, and then everybody would always ask me what it is, and I'd have to explain it or make up some other reason. Like when I got tired of answering it, just lie and just like have a different answer every time. But now to come back and be like, now that is an iconic symbol now. Like he's wearing it on Disney Plus. No one's gonna ask me what the sign is anymore.
Time to get a new shirt.
Yeah, well, I did actually, but it says Hawkeye on it, so it's
Ugh.
like, oh, so obvious. Oh, but
You can't be a hipster.
I highly recommend the show. If anyone hasn't seen this show, you probably shouldn't listen to the last couple minutes of it. But if you haven't seen the show or you haven't read that book, I know that a lot of our fans just fans. We have fans. A lot of our
A
listeners,
lot of our viewers.
they're not viewers either. A lot of our listeners may watch this stuff, but not as many of them. Check out the books. Read Matt Fraction's Hawkeye. You will be bountifully rewarded.
I got you right now. Okay. I got you guys. You might be thinking, where can I read this? I don't want to buy it.
Yeah.
Comic books are expensive, right?
Correct.
Well, if you're in the Miami-Dade area.
No, in almost any market.
Okay, yes. In any market in America.
Yeah.
I don't know how.
Yeah, no, in America.
But if you're in the Miami-Dade area, go to your library, get a card, become a member. It's free.
Yeah, your local library.
Local library. They're going to give you access to Hoopla. And from there, you can watch,
And Libby.
you can watch, you can read
Yeah.
all their library, right? And they have a lot of comic books there.
Yeah.
You can read Hawkeye there.
Audiobooks, comic books.
You can read the Hawkeye.
Language learning
Yeah.
services as
Mhm.
well.
Yes.
Mango languages.
You can read Hawkeye there if you want. You can read WandaVision over there if you want.
Mhm.
If you want to learn more about Winter Soldier, you can read Ed Brubaker's run
Mhm.
on Captain America. Go to the library, become a member, or
Right.
I don't know what the
Yeah, so
term
become
is.
a member, yeah.
Subscribe. I don't know. Hit like, subscribe,
It's not a service.
and you
It's a public service.
there you can just because I am blessed that George for some reason has a huge not for some reason he has a huge comic book digital library,
I
like
thought that was going
thousands
somewhere else.
thousands of books,
Mhm.
comics. But if you're not blessed like I am, or like Gabriel,
Mhm.
go to your library. You'll get
Yeah.
it there
There's-
for free.
Yeah, just resources. They're at your fingertips.
And with the stuff that George doesn't have, the library has.
There's a bunch of stuff on the horizon. I'm just going to throw out their names, and we only have time to talk about probably what you're most excited for.
Wait, really quick
Yeah.
about Hawkeye. I love the show. I think it's my favorite one. I was
Mhm.
disappointed in one thing.
What?
I wanted a pizza dog episode.
I mean, but you only had 6, though.
I know.
I agree.
But I thought we were going to
No
get something like
dialogue,
that. No
yeah.
dialogue, just a
Just a
dog.
dog.
Oh, I
Yeah.
really wanted
Bro,
that.
that issue was genius, man.
Yeah, that issue was genius. But also, going back and rereading it now, like, it would have been the shortest episode of all time.
Maybe they can turn it into a short, like one of those little
Ooh,
specials that they have
that
in
would
Disney
be
Plus.
amazing,
That'd
actually.
be pretty
One
cool.
shot. They should bring the one-shots back.
Yeah.
Okay, so we don't have a lot of time. I'm going to rattle off the names of everything that they announced on Disney Plus Day. All right? You guys tell me what you're most excited about. Coming soon, Moon Knight, She-Hulk, Miss Marvel, What If Season 2, Loki Season 2, maybe this year, possibly. I Am Groot. I think those are just shorts. Guardians of the Galaxy Holiday Special. X-Men 97, rebooting the original X-Men cartoon that many of us grew up watching.
Is that coming out in 2022?
We don't know. 22 to 23. This seems
good.
yeah. I think that might though, because it's just an animated series. It's not like a big tempo for them. Spider-Man freshman year, which we missed in the movies. So we'll explore it through an animated series. Ironheart, the successor to Tony Stark. Riri Williams. Agatha, House of Harkness. Armor Wars. Marvel Zombies, and Secret Invasion. It's a lot. What are you excited for?
I'm excited.
Knight.
Yeah, okay. I'm glad you said something that was coming. That was much closer than further away.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think I'm excited for Moon Knight.
Oh, so both of you say
Nah,
you're
Moon Knight. Oscar Isaac,
You,
man.
bro, you got the real Mr. 305
Yeah.
there. We're getting our Hispanic representation right there. I'm with Gabriel.
Why? What? So
And I mean, I think that the character may not be Hispanic. He could be Hispanic, being portrayed by a Hispanic actor.
Yeah.
But even then, like, I'm such a huge fan of Oscar Isaac,
yeah, he's a great
and
actor.
like he's fantastic. And I mean, I'm not the most educated on Moon Knight
Mhm.
in the comics and stuff
Oh,
like
we'll
that.
Once
take care of
again,
that.
you can go to Hoopla and read the
Exactly,
stuff
but,
there.
But from what I do know, that character's awesome.
Yeah.
Like from the small tidbits that I've read and that I've heard about him, the character is really, really, I think, exciting and different. And from that little tidbit that we saw of footage, that sold me. I'm like, I'm in whatever this is. I'm in.
Yeah.
It's Oscar Isaac, and with the amount of like the footage, the brief footage that I got,
Mhm.
I'm sold.
That's how I feel about She-Hulk. She-Hulk's one of my favorite runs. If they do it with the tone that the comic has, I think it could. If it might be if they do like a comedy tone, I think you're gonna love it.
Oh, they're gonna do comedy?
They might if they
Because I saw
her
the
best runs are.
I saw the picture thing, and I'm
Yeah.
like, is this Law and Order?
Yeah.
It gave me like a Law and Order SVU
You've
vibe.
never read the She-Hulk comics?
No.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, well, I'm pretty sure your boy's gonna be in it.
No. See, that's
That's right.
I'm really excited about.
Murdoch.
I'm really excited about that
Oh,
because
sorry.
Let's not speculate.
Yeah, sorry. I don't want to give you guys ideas or
Yeah.
false hope.
I'm excited because I do believe he might be in the show.
Mm-hmm.
And in my mind, I'm imagining a scene where it's Jessica Walters. What is it? Is it Jessica Walters?
Yeah.
Okay, I was thinking of the actress. I'm like, that can't be right. But it's Jessica Walters and Matt Murdock against each other in the courtroom.
That sounds good.
Give that to me.
You know who else is actually in the She-Hulk comics a lot? Firefox. Is that his name? The Thanos' brother? No, Star Fox. I'm sorry.
Star Fox.
Oh,
Star
you didn't tell
Fox.
me.
Yeah. So,
Harry Styles.
Harry Styles.
something to think about. Maybe
With
I
some
don't know.
watermelon sugar.
Okay. I'm also excited for Miss Marvel. That comic is really good.
It's adorable.
Yeah. So hopefully they do it well. They do it justice. Again, I just rattled off like 15 titles. There's a bright shining new tomorrow. I remember that line in The Dark Knight where it says,
Where's Rachel?
No, not that one. To paraphrase, and I don't remember it word for word, but I know that the night is always darkest before the dawn. And to end this merry month of Marvel, where some of us were having our doubts about Marvel's ability to continue on with their expanded universe in the wake of Endgame, Phase 3, and all these stories they started telling, the light has shined bright. The light has shone upon us with Spider-Man, No Way Home, and Hawkeye, and this slate of stuff that all sounds really good. Maybe it's not all going to hit. Sometimes we put our hopes in our future. We have a lot of plans. We have a lot of ideas for what's best for us. But time and circumstance gets in the way of our own plans. Sometimes we get to celebrate our triumphs, and sometimes we get to mourn our losses. But we know that we will keep moving on. And with so many events ahead of us, new faces to meet, new stories to tell, new experiences to have, we'll keep exploring the human experience from month to month and year to year to come. So to end this merry month of Marvel as we head into this new year, it's a new year with family, friends, and the heroes that we look up to. And as we keep exploring these and other stories, I hope that everyone is safe, healthy, at home, and that you remember to keep on searching.